Hi, and welcome to Post-Burnout.com interviews. Post-Burnout.com is a culture website dedicated to venerating burnt-out artists the world over. My name is Aaron Kavanagh, and I'm the website's founder and editor-in-chief. This is our website's podcast where we interview people from various artistic disciplines. These episodes are sometimes full-length interviews from our site's articles and other times exclusives. If you're a returning listener, thanks for coming back. And if you're new here, thanks for checking us out. We hope you'll like it and stick around with us. So Queerfest is a new grassroots festival which aims to showcase some of the most interesting up-and-coming LGBTQ+ artists on the Irish scene. The first edition of Queerfest takes place this Wednesday at Upstairs at Whelan's. The lineup for the first edition includes alt-rock/metal duo Shallow, the dance pop artist Romeo Keane, the synthy alt-pop artist Andromeda the First, and the subject of today's interview, the pop rock artist Niall Blaise. Tickets will be €10 on the door, but you can get them for €8 now at whelanslive.com. Thanks to the promoters of Queerfest for setting up this interview. In this edition of Post-Burnout.com interviews, we talk with the Kilkenny artist and musician Niall Blaise. Niall tells us about how he got into music, growing up in a small village, moving to Dublin to attend BIM, getting a TikTok following at age 16, how Dublin differs from Kilkenny, his first headline show at the Soundhouse in January, his upcoming music releases, the Irish pop scene, what to expect from his performance at Queerfest, and much more. Also, one thing I want to note is that this interview was actually recorded one day before Leo Varadkar resigned as the leader of Fine Gael and as a Taoiseach. That sounds like a weird thing to say, but trust me, it makes sense when you listen to the interview. So, yeah, the first thing I wanted to ask was just kind of like a bit about your background. I mean, to me, it seems like you kind of just came out of nowhere. I was wondering for you, like, what was your kind of like background in terms of becoming a musician?
So, I'm originally from a small village in Kilkenny called Graignamanagh, and I always knew I wanted to do music. I grew up surrounded by it. Like, my mother was always playing music around the house. Didn't really come from a musical background, but in sixth year, in fourth year, I seen an advertisement for BIM. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I want to go there, but it was kind of off the cards because I was too shy. And then in sixth year, I happened to get a different music teacher. And I used to play the tin whistle instead of do vocals because I was too shy. And she was like, I don't really want you to do that for your exam. Like, can you sing?
Sure.
She was like, even if you're bad, you're going to get better marks. And I was like, okay. And I tried it. And she was like, where have you been hiding this? I was like, yeah. Like,
do you remember what song it was?
I think it was a bit cliche, but Creep by Radiohead.
Okay,
yeah, I think everybody has sung that song.
It's a cliche for a reason.
Yeah. And she was like, okay, I want you to sing for a Christmas concert. So I sang for the Christmas concert, and the feedback I got was insane. Like, every teacher came up and was like, wow, like, where have you been hiding that for the whole time you've been here? Like, nobody knew.
I have to ask, was it the censored version of the song?
I don't think so.
Oh, really?
I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, I have a mouth like a sailor anyway.
No.
And then I kind of felt comfortable to have a teacher be like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
My guidance counsellor persuaded me. She was like, please do politics.
Okay.
Do not do music. Do politics. And I was like, no. So eventually I ended up coming to BIM. And now I'm here, and I've been living in Dublin for 2.5 years now. I had my first gig in January of last year. And then exactly a year later, I had my first headline. So it's all kind of
been very quick, like quick turnaround.
Very, very quick. And I think even I've had no training when it comes to being on stage and stuff, but everything just kind of comes a bit naturally.
Yeah.
To me, when it comes in terms of stage presence, I can't say so.
Yeah.
I hate.
No, I've seen the video you perform, and it's very just enthusiastic, getting the crowd in there. Was that kind of daunting? I guess because I know some people they're great musicians, but when it comes to the crowd interaction, it's just very interesting. I think a lot of musicians tend to be quite insular and shy, as you were kind of mentioning. I guess it's good for introspection and kind of crafting ideas, that kind of attitude. But then they are also expected to kind of not only perform and kind of be very ostentatious to a crowd, but also promote themselves and kind of have to be kind of we're the best thing ever, you know what I mean?
And I feel because of the image and certain clothes that I wear, I feel if I just get up on stage and stand still, it doesn't coordinate with kind of my brand itself, or me as a person itself. So I think I kind of have to be very cheeky, very like constantly moving and constantly engaging. Like that's my favorite thing is like jumping around the place, you know, moving, and like all the songs that I do are kind of pretty up tempo, very fast. For my headline though, I've only like before that was only used to half an hour sets, which is like 5 or 6 songs usually. I usually end up having about 8 because I mash them in, so just to have more. But I decided to do, I think it was 12 songs for my headline, so double the time. Yeah. And honestly, I was ready to go for more. Like, I was like, I wish I had more time. It was insane. And like, I had some actually pretty vulnerable moments because when I did my first gig in January of 2023, I had no originals. Well, I had one. Mm-hmm. And then for my headline, I got to perform, I think it was 5 or 6 original songs that people hadn't heard. And like, some of them are very vulnerable moments. There's one of my songs called Dear Blondie. And it's like about me when I used to have bleached blonde hair. I do now again, but when I was like 17 before I moved here, and like it's kind of me reflecting back on that moment. And yeah, my mother was there and everybody was there, and they heard that song and they were just like, oh my god. And there's so much stuff that I'm working on at the moment that I'm so like excited to put out. And like I don't stick to a certain genre when it comes to it either. It's just crazy. Like for my headline, there was indie, there was rock, there was pop. We had a little bit of metal. Just, it was a big step going from just like, you know, a BIM gig to a complete headline. And the reason I decided to do a headline was because I was going through kind of a dry spell with gigs. And I said to my friend Alana, who's an event manager, I was like, I want to do this. And we just said, yeah. Yeah. And I just was like, I don't know if many people are going to show up, what the turnout's going to be like, but like it's a risk. And then I chose to go to Soundhouse, and the turnout was really, really good as well. So
it had really good promotion too. I think that's when I first got word it was actually true that Soundhouse show. I wasn't able to go that day, but like I was kind of aware of the kind of press I guess surrounding it.
Yeah.
I mean, like for you, was that kind of like I guess like a paradigm shift in terms of like notoriety, or how did you kind of find that?
It was great. I really loved it because I had that plan since the October before, and it wasn't announced till December. Mm-hmm. I had it in the works since September, and the whole like promo was like, I wanted it to be like as disgraceful as possible. I had different.
It's like a tabloid mag.
Yeah. I had some different headlines that I couldn't put in.
Okay.
And some of them on it are true. Like there's one about like being broken up at a rave, and that's true. And it was kind of like a little diss towards my ex, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. And I also, I don't know if I should say this, but I had like a headline about Leo Varadkar that we had to take out.
Yeah. Defamation.
Yeah. Okay. So I was like, guys, I don't really want to get sued for my first headline, but it was like just gonna be like funny, like a little like joke.
That would be good for like actual notoriety though. If like Leo Varadkar was like, shut this down.
Yeah, like it was
shut down by Leo Varadkar. You get like all the
and it was like such like I wanted to be kind of bratty, kind of like an early 2000s pop star, and like how they used to say horrible stuff about them.
Yeah.
In tabloids, I kind of wanted to poke fun at that a little bit for my headline. And I deleted everything I had off my Instagram before that. I was like, this is like a new rebrand type thing. And it took off immensely well. Like, I think that post got like 15,000 views itself. And I was like, obviously I was not expecting that or like, but everyone was kind of like, oh my God. And then I got like,
I still see posters for like on Drury Street and all,
It was insane. Like, and there was like 4 different versions of it that I put up over the time. When I had like plastic surgery in the photos, like I did like, and it was just like a creative kind of experiment for me, and like my first kind of burst into the Dublin music scene. Because like, yeah, it was fine, paid the BIM gigs, but which did get my name out there a little bit. But I feel like the headline is what really worked for me, because I started receiving like messages from other people in the Dublin music scene who have albums out. And like I don't have any music out yet, it's coming, but it was insane to see these people reacting to it and be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
like you have no music out and you're doing this.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like, it's crazy to do like a headline show like the Sound. It's such a kind of coveted venue. You know what I mean? It seems like there'd be like a lot of competition and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Actually, they're really great guys. People there interviewed one of them. I guess his name. What's his name? Ian. I interviewed him before for a paper, and he was like really nice and stuff like that. He seemed like really dedicated, really artist kind of driven. And I've known people who've kind of worked there, like V Sensei, who's done shows there and stuff like that. And he said like, yeah, it's very accommodating. It's very like so I guess it was like kind of in safe hands for a show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they were so like chill, and also it was kind of like they'd always check in with me. And they actually like they did very well with advertisement and stuff. They were always like tag us in this, make collaborative posts, and reaching out constantly.
Yeah.
And it was I was like, oh, I don't know if they're gonna do the show because like they might be like, because they did ask for like Spotify links and stuff, and I was like, the event manager was like, yeah, there is no music out yet, and they were like, oh, but then they were like, okay, so they took a risk kind of with it. I mean, it would have been on me if nothing happened, but it was nice of them to kind of help me through it a lot. And then my event manager, Alana, who I go to college with, like, she was a dream to work with. And I still work with her for certain stuff now. We have a few shoots coming up. And for my first song to get released, we're working on that at the moment as well. And I have a gig next week as well. Yeah.
Actually, just before we get on that, I want to ask, and so when you went to BIM, well, first of all, there's two questions. You were kind of mentioning when you were growing up in Kenny that your mother was like listening to music around the house. Sort of, what sort of stuff was she listening to that kind of influenced you, and kind of like what did you find independently on your own? And the second thing was, when you went to BIM, what did you study there?
Yeah, so growing up, I feel like I listened to a mix of absolutely everything, like Bob Marley, Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Like, I used to always, I don't know if the song's called Ring of Fire, but that used to be my favourite song when I was younger.
And like, into a Ring of Fire.
Yeah. And I used to always sing it in the car when I was younger, and or when I was at shows when I was younger as well. My mom, I would constantly request whoever was singing to play that song. But I feel like there was this time I remember sitting on the couch, we were watching the Sky like music channels, the other week just switched through them. One day Lady Gaga came on, and I used to like throw a tantrum when the song was over if we couldn't switch to another station and find it again, because I loved the videos and everything. And I think that's kind of when it started for me, was like, I was very young though, but it was kind of like, okay, I love like this big pop scene. But like I wouldn't say I'm strictly pop at all, but it is kind of where I am leading, but I fuse it with other genres.
It kind of influences the aesthetic and the stage show.
Yeah.
But not necessarily the music.
And one major song as well, Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson, and what he used to always play I Follow Rivers by Leaky Lee, which I actually covered a few months ago. There's so much music, and my mom even said, like, even when I was in the womb, that like literally whenever she turned on music I would kick. She was like, I would kick. It's just crazy. And so I learned to play guitar as well when I was younger for 6 years, which I'm not very good at. Not very good at guitar myself, but I am getting there. But my mother has always been so supportive. She comes to my shows the whole time, and it's like she obviously travels up for them, and like it's just so nice to have that support as well. Because I felt like when I was telling people were like, oh, I'm going to study like philosophy, I'm going to study law, and then they were like, what are you doing? And I was like, music.
Don't believe me, I have an arts degree, I totally relate.
And I was like, oh god, people are going to be like, no. But like now that people see me, they're like, okay, it makes so much sense. Because like when I was 16, I started to get like a bit of a following on TikTok. Not for music, but like little silly sketches that actually make you cringe to bits now. And I think at the moment I have 36,000 followers in there. So my hopes is to kind of blend what I'm doing now back in. I kind of stopped posting on there for a while because that app is toxic. So
try and get them over to like Instagram before like TikTok ban.
TikTok ban. That's very, very soon. So I have like 2 weeks for that. But I'll come up with something. And so then I decided to obviously go to BIM.
Yeah.
And because I kind of suck at other instruments, I wanted to study vocals.
Mhm.
And I went to audition for BIM, and they were like, the auditions are closed. And we were like, but I had like put it down in CAO, so I should have got it. What happened was BIM actually forgot to send me the email, and they were like, the auditions are closed.
Jesus.
And
That's
I was
okay.
like, oh yeah, typical. They still do stuff like that nowadays. But I was like, oh my God, I can't go to college. But then they emailed me back like 2 days later being like, you can do an audition now, but you have to get it in 2 days. And I was like, okay. So I had to like put it up on YouTube, all this stuff. And it was a lot of pressure, but eventually it paid off. I didn't do very well in the audition.
Okay.
Didn't do very well. But I think looking back on the audition, seeing me in my sitting room just standing there singing a song, seeing me on stage now is like a totally different person.
Yeah.
So I auditioned to do vocals, and it's a lot about your presence as well in vocals. I feel like sometimes you can be looked down on because you're studying vocals, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, because sometimes we're not like an instrumentalist as such, you know what I mean? And so sometimes it can be like, oh, vocalist, as natural, which is fair. But
I don't think it's fair.
it can be, but I feel like a lot of our instrument depends on how we are doing, you know what I mean? How we're doing mentally, physically, and like, I mean, I couldn't go and do a show hungover personally.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I can only have 1 or 2 drinks before I go on stage. If not, voice gone.
Yeah.
Gone. But I mean, studying vocals in BIM has been a wild ride, to say the least. I dropped out of the performance side this year. I chose production over performance, because I want to kind of be able to have more creative control over my own music and learn how to actually make my own music. So I'm studying songwriting as well this year, as well as studio recording. Yeah. So I've gone from doing these singing classes and being on stage every week to actually being in a studio environment and production environment itself, and learning all these skills, and which has really benefited me. Usually, like my next exam, which is in 2 weeks, I have to bring all my whole band into the studio, and like the engineer's not allowed to help me, and I have to direct everything, record, get a full song recorded and mix in an hour. Yeah. So I'm kind of like,
not too daunting.
No, not too daunting or anything. Not as if like this could fail my whole year, but
Jesus. Yeah, actually, that's a really interesting point, because like you were kind of like mentioning, like, you know, kind of like you're sort of okay at guitar, but you don't consider yourself the best guitarist or whatever. And like, I think it's you know, I think like obviously you have to kind of dictate the music and how you want it to sound and how you kind of like create it. Do you work with other musicians in terms of crafting the music you make? Obviously now you're like through production you can have kind of a greater sense of that, just like on an individual level. But how do you find kind of collaborating with other people in terms of like your music knowledge, in terms of like expressing what it is you want? Because like you're saying, it's like so versatile that it's like it's hard to, you can't just be like, I don't know, do you find that hard too, where it's like, you know, you might get musicians really good at like a certain style, but like you have to kind of be adaptable to your whims?
Yeah. So when I first started playing, I was kind of just agreeing with however it sounded, because like when I first started writing songs, I had a conversation with my songwriting lecturer last year over there. Yeah. I used to go onto YouTube, find beats that producers posted, and write melodies and lyrics towards them. That's how I started, which I still do to this day. And then I've worked with different producers, and I will literally, I'll write something, I'll find a melody, and then the band will be there, or I'll ask the producer to send me a beat. We'll write it, I'll give it to the band, and we'll create the live version of that beat. and that's mostly how the majority of my songs start. It's kind of just me being sent a beat, then I will sing to it, or I'll sit down with my guitarist and we'll just come up with random stuff. But in terms of the whole band, it can be like hard to find the right sound. Like the people that I work with now, perfect. Because
So could I ask, you have a solid core or as a session musicians?
some of it's solid, some of it's not. Some of it, I've had like 5 different guitarists now, which is like crazy because everyone just gets busy, or people stick with these people, and so I definitely have a solid bassist, Zap. I think Zap studied jazz music 6 years before coming to BIM. Zap is a genius. Zap has helped me with all of my like own songs. I have this song AM, which stands for After Midnight, and it's kind of disco-y pop, and it's whenever I perform, it's everyone's favorite because it's like so on the tongue, very cheeky. But to find the actual sound for that was hard because when I used to play it last year, it sounds a lot different to how it sounds now. It was very kind of heavy and very fast. Like the drums were very heavy, very fast because of the people that I was playing with. But then when I kind of took a step back and I said, okay, I don't like how this is sounding. Like I just had to say it. I was like, when I perform this, you can't hear me because you guys are playing too loud. We need to drain it back and have more of a structure to the actual song. So we kind of messed around with it, just jammed around, and then when it felt good, it kind of all just happened. That's how I would describe my songs. We kind of just go in. We don't have a clue. We do not have a clue. We have like a blueprint, but I don't like sticking with the blueprint. I like to experiment around it and see what can we do with it to make it sound as crazy as possible.
That's the advantage of a band versus like a backing track, you know?
Yeah. And because I've never performed backing tracks, I don't think. I don't like it. I like having a full band on stage. And like for this next gig, I actually have a cello.
Okay, cool.
As well, added in. Kind of just last moment, but one of my best friends plays cello, and I was like, this would sound really good on like 2 or 3 of my songs. Can we like do it? And then I recorded like an outro to one of my songs with it, and I was like, oh, just completely makes the song sound so haunting. And I never even would have thought of, let's get a cello. It's kind of just like, as I said, everything just happened. We have these crazy ideas, and then we're like, oh my god. And like I'm always open to suggestions from the band as well. Like I don't just want to be like, yeah, that's my song. Can we do this, do that? I like when they put
their names on the drum kit.
I like to have like their opinions to it because in all fairness, it's their work as well. Like if I'm giving it, I'm always open to suggestions from it. And like I've worked with so many amazing people in BIM now that has made everything kind of sound as like I can't take credit for it because everybody else has done it as well. But for me personally, like the way to write, it's so easy for me to go with a producer and write. That's how I write. I'm not very good at composition, but when it comes to like writing lyrics, melodies, whatever, my composition has improved though since the production side. That's why I want to see it this year because I felt like that was kind of my downside is that I didn't know much about composition. But like when it comes to the lyrics and melodies, I'm kind of very quick with it, very witty kind of. I would say I take a lot of inspiration from Lily Allen. When it comes to lyrics, you know, it's there on.
It's kind of bright but very sarcastic.
Very sarcastic, because I like it to represent me. But then I didn't really notice this. My friend said, Niall, she was like, you have some like really like witty sarcastic lyrics, but then you also have some like very like, oh my god, this is heartbreaking type songs. And she's like, it's very like, it's a good quality to be able to have 2 of them because some people either have either or.
It's very like Oscar Wilde or something, you know?
And I didn't realize until I sat down and I like listened to like all my unreleased songs and I was like, oh, because like I think I just write and I'm like, and then I sit with it for 6 months. And if I like it after 6 months, it's dead. If I don't, goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask about that actually? So when you're kind of like writing lyrics, so do you write to a beat, or do you kind of like write the lyrics separately and then kind of adapt into the beat afterwards?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. I could be sitting on the Lewis, and I could be having like an argument, like in Instagram DMs with like one of my friends or like someone that I was seeing, and they'd say something that pissed me off.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, it could be something they quoted, and I'll put it in a song. I would just put it. I'm actually so mean, but like I will. Like, I wrote this song about my dad. It's called Cruel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching the movie Cruel Intentions.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because like we were having an argument at the time. We hadn't broke up, but like I knew it was coming. And I was like, okay, Cruel Intentions. So then I wrote this song, and like the main chorus, like, he treats me mean to keep me keen, but that's so cruel.
Yeah.
And then he lies to me with sweet symphonies, but oh, it's so brutal. And I was like, oh my God. And he actually, I sent him the song after we broke up, and he was like, because there's just so many, there's like funny moments in the song as well, but it's kind of like, oh my God. And we have some cello on that song next. But I say, sometimes lately I've been struggling to sit down and write a beat. Like, I'll just write down lyrics in my notes app, and then I will, if I hear a beat, I'll try write based off the lyrics that I have there.
Yeah.
But obviously I'll change them around sometimes depending on the timing and the phrasing, just to kind of suit the vibe.
Yeah. I think that's the most difficult part, is like kind of like killing your darlings in that sense, where it's like, oh, this part is like really good, but I have to, like, I don't know, I can only have so many syllables here.
It's such a
like
sacrifice.
So like, yeah.
But sometimes you're sacrificing for the better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And sometimes it's good just to be kind of like short with it and just kind of distill the point, you know what I mean, to its like simplest form, I guess. Like,
yeah.
Sometimes I think like any writer, there's like a temptation to kind of maybe over-explain or to over-analyze, where it's like if you just kind of like get it to the bare bones, it's kind of like it can always be, I think, a lot more effective, and actually it can be a lot more adaptable to the listener, because I think when listeners listen to music, they're obviously kind of like taking on what's being said, but kind of adapting it to their own lives in a way. And if you're not too specific, I think that's kind of actually a little bit beneficial.
Yeah. And that's what I was about to say. I love leaving song meanings into interpretation to the listener. Or also songs that could have multiple layers to it, you know what I mean? Like, there could be like, I don't know how to explain it, but there could be like two different sides to it, or meanings. Like, would it be a double entendre? Mm-hmm. Like that type of stuff. Like, I love kind of doing that.
Yeah, the subtext of what you're saying,
Yeah. But then I do write some like silly little pop songs that are just like partying, you know? But I love to have that kind of, I always arrange my set to where it's up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Never like,
never constantly
on a downside, never constantly. I don't want it to be boring. Mm-hmm. I love having this big theatrical show, like for my headline. We did a cover of Unholy by Sam Smith and Kim Petras, which was like a big hit last year.
Yeah.
But my version of that song is actually matched with White Rabbit by
Jefferson Airplane? Yeah.
So it starts off with that, and me and my backing singer turn around, we lift our hands up. But actually, I got them to crowd me while the intro of that was playing. It's like dun 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 dun, and then it's like, I think it's 8 or 16 bars of that, and then it starts, Unholy starts.
Yeah.
But the whole song is basically White Rabbit, like the instrumental. Mm-hmm. Which actually...
That's two songs I never would have paired together, but I have to listen to it now.
We looked at it, I analysed it with my band, and we were like, it's the same chords. Why not mash this? And I did, but I actually did an intro with O Come All Ye Faithful for my exam last year. Like, I love doing stuff like this.
Yeah.
And I came up on stage like this, and my band were singing O Come All Ye Faithful, like operatic version, and then all of a sudden the dun 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 started. It's really heavy.
Yeah.
It's really heavy.
It's very haunting too. It's like really sinister.
Like, it's very rocky, the version we do.
Okay.
But in the middle of it, when we started the Unholy, I had this big long skirt on, and then I kind of whipped it open. I had a smaller mini skirt, and I just threw it into the audience. I was like, "Bye," and everyone was like, I love having big like moments in the set that people are just kind of like, "Where's this gonna go?"
Especially in like venues where it's kind of like nominal, where you have to like you can't really have like big pyrotechnics or something like wheels upstairs. So actually, I always really like that when people take like the smaller spaces, like a sound house, like wheels upstairs, like Grand South or something. They're able to actually make it kind of visual, something that's like visually interesting. It kind of gives it sort of the theatrics of like say the Tree Arena or something in a very small space. I don't know how to explain it.
Like, and because don't have like a budget,
Yeah,
you know, it's kind of like it's all coming out of my own pocket. It's all being funded by me.
Yeah.
That it's like, okay, what can I do to make this? And like, I'm sure I could just stand there and it'd be fine.
Yeah.
But I like to have these like wow factor moments as well. I like also like these really heartfelt moments, like a bit of everything. And after that headline, when I did like some of the original songs that I had never performed before, it was kind of like, wow. And it kind of showed me which ones reacted best with the audiences as well. Like I have a concept for an EP, and I have the name, everything ready. It's just kind of we're gonna get in the studio for that now in the next, hopefully May, I think.
Okay. So you're gonna debut yourself like in terms of like the music online, the EP, or are you gonna go singles first? Then
singles. I think about 2 or 3 singles. Perfect. And then an EP.
Okay.
For the track,
how many songs are you looking towards? I guess like 5, 6.
7.
Okay, cool.
It might change.
Sure, sure.
I can't say anything for sure, but like it might change. But it's kind of, I think it's a perfect debut for me, personally. But I'm just trying to get there sonically with it, mess around a bit more. But it is really nice, and even the name of it, like it's perfect. It's so perfect, and a few like loads of my friends have already heard all the music on it, and they're like, yeah. But I'm trying to get more pop, slight bit more pop on it. Yeah, because I don't want to stray away either.
One thing that I think was really interesting, kind of what you were saying was, you were kind of mentioned that like from performing live and actually being a musician yourself, you're kind of like able to adapt the education in terms of once, for example, you did a module on production because you felt that's where you were lacking. I think that's really cool. Like it kind of like while you're doing sort of college work and simultaneously actually doing what you're there to study, you can kind of adapt it to in a way and kind of like perfect yourself as a performer, as an artist, like in a way that you kind of want. Do you find that's like one of the big advantages to still being in BIM? And when do you finish at BIM? Like when does do the wings come out and you kind of get to fly away on your own?
So I'm in my 3rd year, so I have 1 more year left. As long as everything goes okay.
I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, hopefully. This year I've kind of put more into my music development than the studies. Yep. Because I have been like, it's only been like, we're only the 3rd month of the year, and I've been very busy. But so I kind of have to focus on studies for the next month, and then I'm done. But it has been a big advantage, and like I think the only reason I came to BIM was so that I could do what I was doing now, and it's why I will stay in BIM, because I feel like if I don't stay in BIM for another year, I find it hard to kind of support myself up here. I think my parents kind of be like, they want me to get a degree. I mean, yeah, I feel like I don't really care about a degree.
You kind of got what you want now.
Yeah,
it's sort of trajectory's already set. You know,
it's starting like, and like that's why what I said to my friends. I was like, everything has started to fall into place a tiny bit without me even having to do anything with it since the headline. And like I thought I would find it really hard for that as a career person. I thought maybe because my image and stuff that I might have to work a tiny bit harder than others, because I feel like people wouldn't take me seriously sometimes. which I still do find, you know, which is why I'm glad Queer Fest is happening, because like now this is going to be like every few months, I think.
Okay.
So, and like even in BIM hate pop music.
All right.
They hate pop music.
Is it like real like intellectual like ooh yes you feel?
Oh, it's like, oh, you do pop music. You know?
Okay, yeah,
and
sure.
like even like for auditions and stuff, not a lot of pop music gets the recognition it should.
Mhm.
And I know an artist who went to BIM, Hassis,
Okay.
who does pop, and they're amazing. But I think they might have felt the same in BIM. It's like BIM do not like pop music,
Okay. Yeah.
which I found very hard. Because I've like even auditioned, I've never found that pop gets the recognition in BIM. It's kind of like indie, folk,
Jazz kind of.
yeah, really hard rock as well.
Yeah. Do you think they should adapt to what the student wants to perfect? Like,
Yeah.
kind of help out, like have a versatile range. I mean, obviously, like, you know, I assume the lecturers, I never went to BIM, so I don't know any of the lecturers on any kind of personal level, but like, you know, they're going to have their specialties in general.
Oh,
but,
yeah,
like,
of course.
you know, just in general to try and like help people out. I mean, like, even if it's, you know, as a lecturer, for example, if a student comes to you and is like, I want to do Norwegian black metal, you know, you should then be like, okay, I don't know anything about that, but I'm going to like take the effort to try and help them, you know.
Yeah.
I assume like I don't know, it's been like or the class size is kind of like adaptable to where that's possible, or is it like hundreds of students?
Oh, the class sizes are small.
Okay, yeah,
Small. I think there's like about 15 people
yeah. Okay, jeez.
in most classes.
Yeah.
But I know like they are like really limited. Like they try to arrange the classes so that you'll have a drummer, guitarist, vocalist.
Yeah.
It's usually more vocalists because there's way more vocalists than there is anything else in
Yeah.
the college. But there is no like I know in
like
my
an acapella group.
yeah, I know in my studio recording class there's no drummer.
Okay.
So when we go into the studio we have no drummer.
They're like starless.
So it's like, guys, yeah, learn how to record drums. And we're like, but we can't because there's no drummer.
So would it be like electronic drums, kind of like
yeah, or
program
we'll
drums?
download drums from
Yeah.
online, like a stem,
Mhm.
and then we'll just kind of learn how to mix it in
Yeah,
itself.
that's so much more difficult than just having someone.
I know, but
It's
it
what
is
it
what
is, I
it
guess.
is. Yeah, but it's also been a great skill to kind of have as well. Kind
Yeah.
of be like, okay, what can we do if we don't?
Yeah,
Have
it's also
something.
good for demoing, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of they taught me how to mix as well, which I didn't have a clue about. I was just like, I would just turn down stuff, be like, yeah, this sounds great.
Vocals all the way up.
Yeah, focus all the way up, drums down. Yeah,
Like they're like, I swear I play guitar.
yeah. I'm like, no, you didn't. But they've taught me how to mix very well.
Yeah.
Which is great. Well, we'll see if I can mix in the next exam. But
That's actually kind of difficult when you're like a musician, or like when you're doing your own stuff, because like I know some like musicians get quite like even if they're really good singers can get quite like kind of in their own head about like how they sound. It's like, you know, when you hear your voice back on the recording, some people can get kind of be like very self-conscious, and like the mix doesn't end up being the best it could be because like they get in their own way, sort of. Do you find like you have any issues with that in terms of like, you know, sort of appropriately deciding where everything should go in the mix? And also you mentioned kind of like working with other producers. I mean, even if you get to the level of a skill where you can produce like your own stuff, would you still like to work with external producers to try and get like difference in opinion?
yeah, I think that I would always like to work with other people, like other producers, etc., because it gives you kind of the different perspectives, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can try different things, be like, oh, it actually sounds so much better, rather than your own biased opinion.
Yeah.
You know, like you might think it sounds great, but someone else might be like, oh,
Yeah.
that's terrible.
Yeah.
So I obviously, I love to hear other people's opinions on it, which is kind of like what it's all about for me, because I like to kind of have an unbiased aspect to it. And I just love working with people. And like even to my friend, I was like, when I go to like get stuff mixed, I like to kind of be there and like have like a bit of control over it, you know, because Some of my friends have got mixes back, and
Yeah.
yeah, and they're just not happy. And so that's why I kind of like to be there while it's all happening and stuff, and like kind of talk to them. Especially with pop music, I find like pop music is so hard
Yeah.
to actually get.
There's so many small pieces that I think, like, just the average listener just like won't really pick up on. You know what I mean? There's just like always like little things here and there in the mix of like pop music that like
Yes.
really is necessary, but kind of I don't know, it doesn't really draw the attention of the listener necessarily, but it's subtle. But if it wasn't there, it would kind of like totally throw things off a little, you know?
Like I just think that it's hard. Some of the pop music like I've heard like in Dublin, I'm like, oh, I wish there was like more
Yeah.
of a full sound, and sometimes with the vocals. But like, I love the pop artists in Dublin. I think the pop scene in Dublin is really, really cool, and like, kind of because I don't have any music out yet, it's kind of nice to like look up to like some of these Dublin artists and like take inspiration from them, and like kind of just analyzing what they're doing that I could be doing, you know, and I as I mentioned Pastiche earlier, I love Pastiche. And Pastiche followed me when I announced my headline, and I was like, oh, like, fangirl so hard. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just feel like pop isn't appreciated in Dublin as
Okay.
much anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you'll change that
Hopefully.
perception.
Hopefully. We'll see. 'Cause even my friends said to me, they're like, oh, I feel like you could just be doing more pop, like that you're just doing, like you have some indie songs or stuff just because it suits in with what's going on in Dublin.
Mm.
And like, I actually disagreed.
Yeah.
I said that the song that I'm writing just has this feel to this genre rather than being, oh, this poppy song that's repetitive, you know?
Yeah, and also I don't think you should have to adapt yours to like,
Yeah.
what the style is in the city at the time. I think that kind of creates uniformity and it makes it less
Yeah.
interesting.
Because why would I want to be stuck in like, oh, this is popular, so do it.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because like I know in sort of like bigger cities like New York or something, you get like pockets of scenes, but
Yeah.
I don't think like Dublin's big enough for that really because like everyone shares the same clubs and stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone's so it's like to some degree. There's a little bit like I guess like Fibbert's kind of like the rock bar. Soundhouse more known for like hip hop and pop, and Workman's and Grand Social are kind of more indie. So I guess there's like a little bit of division there, but like generally everyone's kind of sharing the same venues. There's a lot of like cross, things don't like develop in the way they might do in other like Berlin or London. Or something,
like Berlin's very techno.
Yeah.
And like in Dublin, I don't really know what the set. I think it would be indie. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of popularity in India. There's a lot of like really shouty, like shoegaze and really shouty like post-punk and stuff. I think there's like yeah. But I do think like also like we do have like a healthy like pop scene. We get like folk, we're getting hip hop. But I think like any kind of music genre, metal is like kind of represented like to some degree.
Of course.
But there's always like I think enough to create a bill, for like a gig. I think that's like the good thing.
Like someone that I love at the moment as well, and they go to my college as well, Skull de Pierre.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think Skull de Pierre's music is just so like uniquely them, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like hip hop or pop too, and I love it. And I remember when I came in first year, seeing Skull like doing these gigs, and I was like, oh my god, like I want to do this, and like now I am. So it's like crazy, and like I draw big inspiration, and it kind of motivates me as well to see all these to see all the like different diverse artists in Dublin, and like the wide range of it. Because like before I moved here, I didn't have a clue.
Yeah,
did not have a clue, and like where I'm from, it's like I can't really dress the way I do here, or like none of that's accepted. So like to be able to come here, do the music that I want, and also be able to dress the way I want, is just like a blessing, you know. And it's like it is the bare minimum, but it's so nice, and I'm very grateful to actually be able to do what I want now, and that everything's kind of slowly paving this path
Sure.
for me. Yeah.
No, actually, ask about that because I'm on like familiar with Kilkenny as in like the Kilkenny town, like the big town, I guess. I almost classify Kilkenny as a city. I know there's contention about that.
It is.
I would say it's a city. Like I don't know, Galway's a city, Kilkenny's a city. But would that be kind of like accepting of like of kind of like not even like just like queer art, but just like generally just people who are like different and kind of like creating art, or is it very like uniform conformity to? Or what's your perception of it? I guess.
Personally, I feel like it has changed a slight bit.
Yeah.
But growing up there, my experience was like no.
Okay.
I was not out until like as gay until I came to Dublin. Like everybody knew, but like I wouldn't dare dress how I dressed there how I do now here. I don't think there would have been a platform for me to do what I want there. And that's why I like telling people, oh, I'm from here. And because if there's anyone else like from or stuck in that kind of area, they can see that I'm doing what I want to do now, so
Right.
they can do it too, and it's just nice. Like I would have loved to have that when I was younger, like seeing these people in Dublin or like different cities doing what I wanted to do. But I think Kilkenny still has a long way to go, especially like I'm from a little village, like not from the city,
Yeah.
so it's a lot. It's its own little subculture,
Sure.
But I do go home quite often, and like everyone is very respectful to me now, and like it's a lot different to how I was growing up.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone kind of has a sense more respect now, kind of understands a bit. When we were younger, like nobody was educated.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like the problem I think like with like our shitty like sex ed here. It's that like when it comes to anything that's not like heterosexual heterosexual like procreation. It's just like forget it.
Or the way they say it in Kilkenny, or like where our pub is like, ain't this not normal,
The thing that's really shit is like people like we are trying to adapt this sex ed curriculum to be more inclusive and like you got all these like right wing nut jobs just like fucking shouting it down and getting all angry over nothing. It's like God's sake, you know what I mean?
Yeah, or they're like, oh, I don't care if you're gay, just don't push it onto our children. And I'm just like, oh my God.
It's not though. I mean, like that's the problem is that people think like the education is sort of like indoctrination. It's so stupid. It's like if someone's not gay, they're not going to just become gay because they know what it is.
Literally, I
would gay when they don't know what it is.
Literally, I would tell like people, you're gay from the moment you're born. If you're gay, that's how it is. Sure. You don't just like wake up and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna choose to be gay today because like what like why like what would like you just because it is like you're putting yourself in for me was like an uncomfortable position growing up, like people would be like, oh, you're gay, and I'd be like, no, I'm not, even before I knew I was.
Sure, yeah.
And then I feel like that's why I never wanted to come out or like tell anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then when like I moved here, I never even came out. I kind of just started dressing the way I wanted and whatever, and I never had the discussion with my family or anything, and which is great for me. It works for me, but I think because everybody already knew. But like I always denied it and like never would say, oh yeah, I am, because it wasn't like I was ashamed. I don't even know why. It was just I never could, because I think of how much I was tormented with it.
Yeah.
I
think there's also, it's hard to explain, but it's kind of like there's also a difficulty even if you kind of know that your family will be accepting. Like I think people think like now because like the culture generally is pretty pro LGBTQ, but generally, I mean, like I still think like trans people get a lot of shit, like in a horrible way, like in a really like transphobia is kind of like so commonplace in a way that like homophobia once was. I think we're like there. I think homophobia isn't as socially acceptable as it once was, but that's not to, of course, say it's eradicated. He's still here. Yeah. It's under Lewis, and it's like what really dismays me is kind of like hearing about like young kids, and it's hard for me to kind of like gauge, because I mean like I think of like people who are younger. I'm 30, so like I hear like kind of like like secondary school kids, and like,
Yeah.
on one hand, it's like, we're told like, oh yeah, it's a more accepting generation. And I see that like in a lot of ways too. It's definitely a lot better than it was. But then I'm still there and like the F slur and like the
Yeah.
Lewis and stuff by like 15-year-old kids, and still kind of like the homophobic ribbing that like I would have heard like growing up and stuff like that. It's hard for me to gauge like where we are culturally in terms of like. I guess the future generation, and that's who I'm more concerned about. I don't really care about like kind of the older generation's perspective, because I think it's sort of irrelevant now. But it is kind of like, what are the kids of today, like how are they perceiving it? And that's why, again, I think like, more inclusive sex ed to kind of, is obviously a necessity, and just like, an acceptance of it, and just like maybe even like queer history, being taught as a module or something. Like, not as a module,
exactly.
even as the history module, just as
in school,
part of the curriculum. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I had a thought there, I can't remember what I was going to say, but and even see more queer representation in the media, the music industry itself, the film industry. I feel like there is a slight bit more now, and it's kind of, there's more queer people that are being hired, But I feel like also, like, I remember record labels used to be like, yeah, don't come out as gay. It's going to ruin your career. And like, there's somebody that I know who was signed, and they were told that was only about 3 years ago.
Jesus Christ.
So it still is.
Yeah.
It still is happening,
Yeah, I think it's like, I don't know, it sounds like, if you do have queer representation, everyone like pisses and moans about woke culture and all this shit.
Oh my god, yeah, it's like it's
I'm just sick of it, you know what I mean? It's just like the same conversations, just in a circular pattern. It's like, just fucking let people live their lives.
So,
like,
even for me, like, that's kind of like a big concern for me at the moment. It's kind of like, where am I gonna piece in? And kind of like, where am I gonna? Because I think the biggest thing is like, everybody who does music is, not everybody, but most people look for like a label, and like in BIM, they've actually taught us that being independent is really beneficial. But I suppose it depends what each artist is looking for. But I am seeing more like queer artists get signed and stuff while they're opening out as queer, which is great. Because I know that like some people, like years ago as well, like people were told not to come out, and if they did, it was kind of like a big power move for them, to have done that, which is so brave. But it's great to see actual queer people being signed while they're out as queer themselves, and it's kind of lifted a bit of worry for me, or like, where am I going to fit in this industry? But if you look at the music industry itself, it is very queer. It's so queer, like, and like most industries are, the TV, film industry, fashion, and music. Like, everything has a queer like influence, which is great to see. And I think there's like, even in Dublin, like, I see there's so much more queer people everywhere. And it's such like a big difference from me living at home in this village to coming here and being surrounded by like all these gay friends. And I had no gay friends growing up. Like, I was like the only gay in the village, as they say. You know what I mean?
You're the second person to make that reference to me in like a week.
But like that's how it was. There was one other gay person who was like my mom's best friend, but like that's it. That's it. So like, coming here is such a big difference, and I think I kind of just, when I came here, just started dressing how I wanted, I was kind of like, I don't give a shit. Like, and I think that's the same mentality that I have. Like, no matter who tells me to change how I dress or like change my image, like, I don't think I will. I think I like sticking with how I perceive myself, and I think that's the only thing that I care about, is how I perceive myself.
It's like rigid gender norms where it's like, you have to be like this, and it's like the same, just like people do the one. And then there's plenty of like gay people that are very like comfortable in the kind of roles that are assigned, that's their gender at birth and stuff like that, and that's fine. No one gives a shit about that. But it's like, suddenly like you try to, I don't know, it's just like, it's just like ridiculous like conformity to me. It's like this weird like culture of just like, dictating how other people live their lives. It's actually very busybody, and I think like maybe in bigger cities like you don't get it as much, but like as you mentioned, kind of like growing up in villages like that, everyone's kind of like in each other's business, and it's just like
Yeah.
it's very daunting. And like even just anything like like any getting expelled from school, everyone knows.
Everybody.
Right? Like it's just like ridiculous.
No, but growing up in a village, everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody's nanny.
Yeah.
It's just like everybody knows everyone's business. But like even I come here and I wear like skirts, and people are like, oh my god, like it's really brave, and I'm just like, I don't see, but like I do see how it is, but like I don't see it as being brave. It's just how I feel, how what I want to wear, and like I feel comfortable wearing that, or I feel comfortable wearing like most of the clothes I wear are cropped, and it's just like what the type of style I like to wear. Like people are like, oh, how's it feel wearing girls' clothes? And I was like, they're not girls.
They're mine.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like maybe people might associate it with the girls more, but I'm like, where did clothes ever have a gender? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, totally. I think you see that. I think like one gracious thing is that you are seeing that kind of like breakdown too. Actually, like there's a lot of like avenues. I think like I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of like. Well, I think actually just makes life more interesting to have like that lack of conformity. I think like you see now like a real big backlash towards like non-binary people, for example, just because like they're trying to sort of challenge the sort of binary, the kind of what you call it, the kind of duopoly of like man, woman.
Yeah.
That's it. And like people are like freaking out. I think this like real right wing backlash is very worrying at the moment. It's something I've seen everywhere.
It is.
Just, like, yeah.
But like if it doesn't affect you, and I don't see why people care,
Yeah.
And like people are like, oh, there's people just making stupid jokes online and stuff, and it's like really upsetting to see, because I do have a few friends who are non-binary, and I have loads of trans friends as well, and it's just like really upsetting to see, because I know like it is a struggle being gay, but like most of the issues now are facing like non-binary and trans people, which are really sad. Like it was just really sad to see, and like I can't begin to understand like how, like I can't understand how like dangerous it can be for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And I just don't see why people care if it's not affecting you personally.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, this way we go back to like representation. I think like one big problem is that like I think like when you kind of like know trans people, you can introduce them, you go look at there's people like me, like they just like want to live their lives and obviously have challenges, but you kind of just realize like they just care, like what I mean, they're just like people living their lives like everyone else,
Yeah.
And I think like if people just kind of like were aware of that, but I think like the problem is like trans people just aren't like it's totally like in like places it's totally like I don't know, like just like realistically, not everyone's going to know a trans person. I think just because of like the quantity of people who are trans, I think like maybe media representation be a good short term thing. If there was like a popular, let's say, trans TV host or something like that, or radio host, and people go, oh, I like them, you know what I mean, or whatever. It's just like it helps integrate. I think integration is better than education in that sense, because it brings down prejudice when you actually have that kind of personal connection. You know what I mean?
Like, and I am like looking at the Irish media, and I'm like, where is this representation?
Yes.
Like, where, like, especially with the influencer scene, I feel like most popular influencers at the moment, it's like a very hetero type scene. Now maybe I could be wrong. Maybe that's just what's popping up on my phone. With the algorithm. But from what I've seen, and like I do know a few of the influence scene. I think it's so different compared to like the kind of the music industry and stuff. But I am seeing like some of like the TikTokers coming out with music, and it's so easy for them to like do it, whether people are starting from scratch because they already have a following.
Right.
We were discussing this in college the other day, and everyone was like up in arms about it, like it was like war.
Yeah.
But like fair play, they're making kind of a brand and a business out of what they have there, and I think it's very clever.
Yeah.
To them to do that.
I guess like one final thing I'll ask, just to plug it, is tomorrow week you're doing Queerfest upstairs at Leland's. It'll actually be this week by the time this is out.
Yeah.
I think 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
But we're talking like a week beforehand, and it's an interesting lineup. It's a very versatile lineup. I was wondering how they kind of come together. How did you get involved?
So I actually got approached by the organizers. I think Yana.
Yep. That's what I was on.
And I got approached, and I think they had seen like the advertisements for my headline.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
I have a pin on my profile still. No, but like, I think they had seen that because I had posted up in BIM as well.
Mhm.
And then they asked me, they said that they were planning on like creating this gig. Would I be interested? And like straight away, like I didn't even have to have any information. I was like, yeah, I'm down. Like, throw any opportunity at me, I'm not going to refuse it, you know? Take what you can get. And that's how I got involved. I was just like, yes, straight away from the beginning. And I didn't know the rest of the lineup. I didn't know anyone. So I was just like, okay, yeah, we'll see who else is performing this night. And then eventually I found out the lineup, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So excited. Is it Andromeda the first?
Yep.
Never seen them live.
They're really good. They covered Creep. When I ever saw them once, and the first thing they did was a Kazoo cover of Creep.
I've heard, but everybody has been talking about this, and I am so excited, especially like to kind of like see like their own style of music. And
you should join them for that when they do the Kazoo.
Oh my god!
vocals.
Imagine. I hope they do that this time, because I think last time there was like some sort of like malfunction. Is why they then that's why they
that's
had
right.
to
That's
do
right.
it.
So,
But I think they might do it. I hope they do it, because it was such a hit last time. I heard like everyone's like, "Niall, you have to go see these people." They were like, "You're gonna love them," and I was like, "Who are they?"
Yeah.
And then I seen that they're on the lineup, and I was like, "Oh."
They're a very funny band too. They're very like I don't know, like 2000s Nickelodeon humor.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah,
That's like my favorite type of humor. You know, like anything from the 2000s, early 2000s, show it at me. You know, and Shallow. Yeah. Willow and Sean, they are in. I think they're in my year.
Okay. I'm unfamiliar with them, so yeah.
Yeah, but they are people. They go to BIM.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see them. I've seen them before. They're amazing.
Okay.
Amazing, like a two-piece. Like, wow.
Okay.
Wow. Who else is on the lineup?
Romeo.
Oh, Romeo.
Yeah.
Romeo's pop, very pop. And Romeo uses. Pretty sure they use backing tracks, so I'm very excited to see how this all works. Because it's very like cool, fun. I feel like it's never going to be like a dull moment. It's all going to be up pace. Like everyone's going to have to be very energetic, have a few drinks. Like,
are you going to be on the side of the stage with like an notepad going?
Yeah, no, either that or I'm going to be backstage, like, and I'm going to be like, because I usually don't come out until I have to be on stage.
Right.
But I want to watch all the acts. Like, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I remember for my headline, I just sat upstairs because I was like, I don't want to see how many people are down there, guys. I was like, I don't want to see.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited.
It's a good venue for that kind of like intimacy, kind of like interacting with people too. You know what I mean?
I've never performed here.
It's a really nice. Oh, you've been there though, have you?
Yeah.
It's a really nice venue. I love it. Yeah. So it has a real like cozy feel, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember they were like, "Now you're gonna have to shorten down your band," because
yes,
it's a very
that's true.
small
It's
stage.
very small.
But I think there's still 8 in my band.
You just put some out in the crowd. You know?
Yeah. Just have the cello like on the side, you know. No, but they were like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to shorten down your band because you'd like to move." Yeah. They were like, "You're gonna have to." Did I know? I got a cello instead.
Yeah. Actually, for the set, because you were mentioning like when you did the headline or at the Soundhouse, you kind of like were able to expand it to an hour. Like, what's the constraints of your set here? Like, is it all going to be originals, or is it going to be like a mix of covers?
Half of the originals, half is covers. I like to have it even.
Yeah.
Because like I find like when people can do a full set of originals and there's like new people in the crowd, they're kind of like they can get bored very easily. Yeah. So I like to have.
And also, some people like take pride in that. They're like, we don't do covers, you know.
I think you're losing out if you don't do at least one cover. Yeah. I think that it could be the one thing. It shows your versatility. Mm-hmm. You can do your own music, but you can also recreate someone else's song and put it into your own twist.
Yeah.
I know I will be doing a bit of Kylie Minogue.
Okay.
As always, and I actually have that Unholy cover.
Okay.
On the set, so I'm really excited. I can't remember what else set. But most of the originals I talked about today, they're all on it. Which I'm very excited about, and like the new introduction of the cello. So it's just it is a bit of a constraint.
Yeah.
Going from like a headline to like a really small set. It's kind of like, okay, we have to pack all of the like big energy into this small set. But there's 2 slow songs, that's it. I'm not going any slower.
Okay.
Yeah, no slower for me. But that's about it, yeah.
That's perfect. I guess the final thing I'll ask is for 2024. Obviously, you're recording music at in around May. For the summer, I mean, like, are you going to be doing shows? Any eyeing up any festivals or anything like that?
Yes, there is a few festivals. I can't remember the name. It's either Wants to Watch or The Next Big Thing.
Mhm.
I know that happened recently.
Yes,
But I think there's also one of them during the summer.
so many like really good like kind of festivals for up and coming
Yeah.
acts now, which I think is like a real benefit to
Yes.
kind of people who are actually like in the music scene and getting like involved in promotions.
Yeah.
Like even like I train like gigs regularly, like local shows and stuff like that. So every time I go, there's always like some artists. I'm like, I don't know how they are, but they're killer. You know what I mean? It's
So
insane how good like how many good musicians we have in the city.
there is it's such a battlefield sometimes. But
Do you find it kind of cutthroat, or do you find it's accommodating actually?
everyone that I have met and everybody that I have had the pleasure to meet who is like musicians has always been so kind
Yeah.
and so nice and like so respectful.
Yeah.
So I don't find it. Well, it can be cutthroat. BIM can be cutthroat itself, but
But again, there's a limitation of venues. Just get everyone in.
Yeah.
Do like 5 people lineups like we're doing.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
like I know some of the BIM gigs are 8 people lineup,
Yeah.
the 8 band lineup,
Yeah.
and it's just hectic.
Yeah.
Hectic. So, but I feel like it can be cutthroat if you are not putting yourself out there. Because like even I said I wasn't getting gigs for a while because like no one really knew about me that much. So I said I'm gonna do it myself. You know, you kind of have to take stuff into your own hands and like work with other people a lot. It's kind of about who you also know as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot about that. So I guess I do have that advantage with him. But this something I would love to play festivals.
Yeah.
Because Alana, who is my like the event manager, I've kind of asked her to work some stuff for me for this summer, hopefully. But my main focus is to actually release because I feel like it's just time now.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how many shows I've played. I played a lot, and I'm just like release.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm ready. I'm really like that's the next thing after this gig is that focus.
Yeah, because that is a big thing, like trying to get gigs when you don't have stuff out. It is kind of like really difficult.
It is hard, yeah. That's what I find because most
venues
ask for your music.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have any music, they're like, oh, we don't know.
You have like live videos, that's what other people do. Like,
that's what I do. Or I send them, it's kind of a cheat, but I send them my TikTok, which is with like 36,000 followers. And I'm like, hello.
You can't do that anymore soon.
No. It's a pity, but
It's like you have to use a VPN.
Yeah. So hopefully I will be having shows over the summer. I think I have one for May already, but recording will be focus for me. I know April. I'm trying to take April off. I don't know if I want to though. I haven't decided. I kind of want to finish my exams and finish writing everything. Get ready to go come May.
So what we'll say is, if you really want to see Niall, go to Careerfest, because it might be the last show for a little bit.
It's a hiatus for a month now.
Yeah, fair. And then when you make it and you become like really big, are you going to come back and like do a headline show at like Nolan Park in Kilkenny?
Oh yeah, no. There's this hall, this big like hall in my town. I'll just do it there.
Yeah.
You know?
You thought about that? Like if I did a hometown show, where would I?
There's actually an artist from my town who signed Sony, Robert Grace. He's amazing, but I know he's in a show in Dublin in Whelan's as well soon. So like, Kilkenny is full of talent.
Oh, I'm not saying
It is.
I like Kilkenny actually. I really like it, but yeah.
Yeah, it is a great place.
Yeah.
Just Dublin is my city.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for your time. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. We went for about an hour, so it's really nice.
That's a long time. It's a long time.
Thanks very much.
No problem.
Thank you for listening to that episode of Post-Burnout.com interviews. If you liked it, please subscribe and stick around because we have plenty more like this coming soon.